It's time for the second part of our grading misconceptions video. If you haven't seen the first part, I would recommend you watch it here to kind of catch up on what all's going on. But basically, I made a video about getting coins graded, what's worth getting graded, and I got a lot of comments from people where they don't seem to really understand what's happening at grading services from what I perceived, showed that they really don't believe in them, and some almost conspiracy level comments about the grading services, like manipulating the coin market and stuff like that. So in response to all of those, I decided to make some videos where I address those. I read the comments and I talk about them. So this is the second part of it, and I'm going to continue with some more comments that I received from that video. This comment is really, really long, but this person actually has a couple of points. I disagree with the implications of what they take from it, but they have some good points in there that I don't disagree with the facts necessarily. They say there is no right grade when there is no verifiable and legitimate standard used to grade coins. None of the companies use anything like that. Proof that saying the right grade is given to a coin, the very fact the reslabbing game exists is proof. PCGS at the end of the 90s made a computer grading system they said gave one true grade because they said it eliminated the human grading system and was full of human error. PCGS soon found out they were not being paid more than once to grade the same coin anymore. Reslabbing it went away. And so they scrapped verifiable grading and went back to what they had called the inferior system using human error and so on and so forth. They went where profits led them and have been taking in money despite better systems being available ever since. You will lose money in using the grading service until you know what you are doing. The companies limit their highest grade slabs they hand out. The registry sets were a genius move to make higher grade slabs soar in price, thus more people see it. More uneducated people think they can send in a shiny coin and make a fortune, and the companies get more paid memberships. Since subjectivity is used, no one can prove a coin is MS69 or MS70. In fact, start looking at MS70 Eagles, it's not hard to find obviously flawed slabbed coins. And then he shows a link to something that shows, supposedly, I'm not looking at the link right now, that 30% of the particular variety are misattributed on slabs, meaning that the people who buy those slabs are not getting the actual variety that they are paying for. Ooh, that's a lot to unpack, and I might end up having to do a part 3 on this one because of that. Wow, what a lot of stuff. Anyway, okay, let's start from the beginning. There's no right grade when there is no verifiable and legitimate standard used to grade coins. Okay, so the standard we have is the Sheldon scale. Well, there's standards that dictate us into the Sheldon scale, like there's standards for particular coins to associate to a number on the Sheldon scale. Those standards are broad. Those standards are not just simply cut and dry for every circumstance, and there's a reason for that. You're not just talking about some particular thing that you can just say this factor makes this grade. You have luster, you have strike, you have marks on the coin, you have the location of the marks on the coin, you have the type of marks on the coin, you have the quantity of marks on the coin, you have the quantity and particular locations of marks on the coin, you have eye appeal, the attractiveness of it maybe from some toning that might affect it a little bit. You have so many factors when you're grading a mint state coin. There's so much there. So let's just say you have massive luster on a coin, like just insanely nice luster, like 67 quality luster. But you have marks equivalent to a 65. That's 2 grade points. Or let's make it even bigger. A 67 luster, 64 marks, right? Well, let's say the marks are on one coin or in the left field over here where it's obvious and noticeable like a Morgan, and on the other one, there's some marks over here, but there's a lot of marks over in that right field. Is that the same thing? A lot of marks in the right field that's not a focal point versus a couple of them that are in the left field that is a focal point? Is that the same thing or not? Or maybe you take into account it's a really, really, really strong strike that you just don't see, like on a buffalo nickel where it just really strikes out well. Or maybe you have high luster, few marks, but it's just almost flat because it just didn't strike out and it just looks bad. The eye appeal just isn't there. Like, it's got the luster, but it just looks kind of bland. What do you do with that? What one factor makes it to where all of those things come together into one defined grade, and verifiably so every single time? When you can have marks literally on any 1 point, 2 points, 3 point, million points on the dadgum coin, all looking different in any circumstance, making every coin unique. Crazy. Every coin's unique in the way it's conditioned, unless it's mint state 70 and perfect. But even then, you might have a little bit of characteristics to it that are different, like some toning or eye appeal or luster or something like that. So, what is that standard? I can't think of a way to even make that standard. Other realms of grading have taken this into account, like ancient coins, where we not only have an adjective like very fine, we then have a strike number, like 1 to 5 out of 5, and a surface number, 1 to 5 out of 5. That's 3 parameters that are being graded. And that doesn't even account for everything you could say about an ancient coin's condition. So if we're going to have a 70-point scale of the Sheldon grading scale, which has been used for a very long time now and has become standardized, we have to take into account that some coins, in fact, I would say the majority of mint state coins, are not so cut and dry as to say it's clearly this grade. The only time I think we have the exception to that is in mint state 70, because it should be without flaw. Everything else, it falls into a realm of it's in this range, and then you take into account everything that's there, and from what you've experienced of other coins in that grade and the standards that are there and the market acceptance of it, you settle into one grade that you feel is right for the coin based on what the coin looks like. This person brings up that in the 90s they had like computer grading, and that was a thing, and it was a thing. That it was an idea that we can make coins universally, verifiably, 100% accurate in grading when we do this. I don't think PCGS and anybody else that was doing it at the time stopped doing that because they wanted to make more money. I think they stopped doing that because they realized that there's so much there, you can't make that kind of standard with all of those factors in a computer-based system, because there's a human element there in grading that is looking at a coin and saying, yes, it has the luster, it has the strike, it has the surfaces, but it still looks like poop. It still looks really, really bad. And so I've seen those coins where it's like, it looks horrible. It's got everything it's supposed to have, but it looks bad. There's so much there that I wish people would take into account what's actually being assessed when you're grading a mint state coin. It's not just saying you count up the ticks in the fields and you do an algorithm to figure out what grade it falls into. That's not how it works. Because once you had that, then you got to measure the luster. Then you got to measure the strike, and then you got to measure the surfaces of the coin. There's just so much, and I don't think they recognize that human element to it that's actually present. This person referred to humans grading coins as the flawed method, and it is. It's flawed. Humans are flawed. The system is somewhat flawed because there's just too much to account for to make it so standardized as to put it into 11 points of a 60 to 70 range, even with the pluses and the stars and and all that kind of stuff. The problem I see is not the system or the humans, though. It's that the coins are flawed, and they're all flawed differently. And so there's just too much to take into account there. AI, computer, I don't think it's impossible for them to get to a grade, but I don't think we'll ever get away from having a human step in and say, yeah, I agree. Or get away from AI ultimately learning from humans to figure out the way it's supposed to grade, if that even really exists, because it's complicated. The person then goes on to rag on the registry set, saying they created those to just inflate prices, and I personally say, praise God they did, because registry sets, people rag on them. I'm a fan. of registry sets, not because I'm wanting to have one myself. I'm doing an everyman's. That's a cheaper side of the registry set side. I'm not wanting to ever have a top grade registry set, but if you don't know what one is, a registry set is basically where you can take all the coins that you have graded in a certain, in a certain set from a grading service or the ones that they recognize, put them into the computer for your registry set, like log your collection in there, and you can not only keep up with it, other people can see like how you've built your set, and you can get points for it. And the person with the most points, the person with there's different weighted averages and stuff like that, but the person basically with most points has the best set, basically, is the premise of it. And so you have the best set, then you can say, I have the nicest collection of wheat cents in the world, or I have the nicest collection of barbers and the quarters in the world. You can say that because it's calculated based on the grades on the slabs. And so it's made it to where those really rare top graded coins have become astronomically valuable. That's why they're expensive. That's why it's going up to the moon on a lot of those high grade coins, because those people are always trying to keep the best set or to get to the best set, and they're fighting against each other. And when there's money involved and they got money to spend and that coin is needed and two people want it, they'll keep bidding until one of them says, I'm out. So that's why those coins go to the moon, because it's another extra point or two on somebody's registry set. So if you don't like that, if you have coins in your collection that you've had for a long time, you should be thankful registry sets exist, if they're nice coins, because registry sets have increased the value of coins quite a bit. Not just for those highest graded ones. They've pulled up all the ones beneath them as well. So if you're happy with the fact that your coin investments have gone up, you should like the registry sets. And if you want to see the coins that you have now continue to increase in value, you should hope that the people who like registry sets continue to like registry sets and continue to buy registry set level coins and compete. Because if people stop doing registry sets, they're all going to fall. The market, as we know, it's going to collapse on coins, and then your collection becomes just really common at that point, unless you have some of the nicest ones, which then you'd really suffer. So, yeah, it'd be a great buying opportunity, but no telling where it would go to, because it would really change the whole hobby. This person is right on another point, too, that if you don't know how to grade coins, if you're new to the hobby, you shouldn't grade them 100%. I agree with that. I made the video and I said clearly you need to seek outside advice before you send this, and you really need to know what you're doing first, because that's really what I agree with that. I don't want people just jumping in and saying it's a really pretty penny, I'm going to send it off for grading. They're going to lose money. You're going to lose money probably. It takes a lot of studying and knowing what to look for and what to do with grading before you can start making money on grading. But I don't think that's the fault of the registry sets. I don't think that's the fault of that. That's some big-time collectors collecting and growing the hobby into a different realm of it. That's not the problem. The problem is people seeing the sensationalized and hyped up high market values of particular coins out of context. They're not understanding, yes, that really common penny sold for crazy money because it was the only one in that grade and two guys needed it for their registry set. Not because it was valuable in and of itself. It was valuable to those two guys who needed it for their registry set. Not to the rest of us. To the rest of us, it's just a really pretty penny. It's nice. I mean, I'll pay for a little bit of conditional rarity on a common coin, but I'm not going to go to the moon on it because I don't have a registry set. I have no interest in acquiring that for myself. But those two guys did, because they're trying to see who has the nicest set. And so if people understood that, and we had YouTubers who are actually being honest with people that it goes up to the moon because these people need it, not because it's actually intrinsically worth that. There's no intrinsic value to that penny that makes it worth that. If we had social media pushing that narrative instead of the narrative of keep an eye out in your change because this common coin just sold for $1 million. If we had the narrative right of this one sold for $1 million, but most of the time they sell for this. If it was honest and not just clickbaity, I think we would have a lot better time. But I can tell you this, people who come into the hobby thinking that they can make money does not mean they won't stay in the hobby and become really experienced in the hobby and good collectors, because I'm one of those people. I started coin collecting because I found a rare coin in change, and I sold it. I had a penny, rare. I had a penny that I got for a penny, and I sold it for $10. I collected silver at the time. I was a stacker. I bought some quarters and I got some 32S's in it. And from AppMex. That was worth more than silver. Mind blown. And I started realizing there was valuable coins out there. And then I started getting interested. And then I started growing in knowledge. And now I love coins and I'm a coin dealer. So saying that that's hurting everybody, it can hurt people. It can if they really don't understand it, but it's not universal. And then also the person brings up the fact that some MS-70s and 69, that's a really subjective area there, and I agree, it is. But also he's talking about semi-numismatic pieces like bullion, which I really don't think semi-numismatic pieces like bullion, I'm not a fan, personally. Coins like barber dimes and stuff like that. Wheat pennies, buffalo nickels, stuff like that. They're never going to hit 70, so it's not even an issue. It's not even an issue. We have the issue in the coins that are coming out that are made for collectors. The ones that are made as bullion pieces that people want to have in a perfect grade, graded, semi-numismatic, or the collector market. And that's where we get the 70s, and that's where you get how small of a mark on something is imperfect. How much magnification do you really need? Then you find the 70 where you do see a mark on it because the grader bulk graded 1,000 of them that day of this exact same coin out of a monster box and was losing his mind and missed one that had a mark on it that he didn't spot. That's a different topic entirely. But that doesn't mean that we need to sit there and throw the baby out with the bathwater and sit there and say that grading services are horrible or malicious or wrong or manipulative just because people make mistakes in grading coins like that. And we have stuff like bulk grading monster boxes to try and get a 70 that's worth $100 instead of a 69 that's worth, well, it should be probably like the base value of the coin plus a couple extra bucks for some extra plastic, I guess. But he also shows this thing about the varieties sometimes being wrong, and that's true. Sometimes variety attributions are wrong on coins. In fact, I'd say there's more than should be out there. I don't want to get into too much of that, but it's true. Varieties are an area where grading services are suffering. I'll say that. That's one reason I'm a fan of Annex, because they're not. Also, I'm a big fan of variety slabbing service. Because they will put a variety attribution on a coin that's accurate because they're really good at varieties. Varieties can get tough, and it can make a big difference for somebody. Let's say you have a 1972 double diopter cent FS 104 on the slab, 104, and it looks like a 104, but unfortunately it's a 107, which looks a lot like the 104. And oh my gosh, the value difference is huge. And then you buy the coin not seeing it, and then you get it, and you're like, it's not a 104. And then the guy who wants to buy it from you is like, it's not a 104, I'm not buying it. And you lose crazy money because of that. So it's a thing. What I'm saying is the conspiracy level theories about grading services are ridiculous. Mint state grading is not so simple. Variety should be simple. It should either match or not. It's binary. It is the variety. It came from that die or it didn't. That's just failures in my opinion. Humans are human and we make mistakes. Varieties are something AI could do. That is 100% possible. Varieties are something AI could do because it's binary. It either matches one of the die states or either matches in a state, maybe in a die state it's not known, but it's going to match the other parameters of it, and it will be the variety. You can attribute varieties by AI 100%. Someone needs to build that for the grading services. That would solve a lot of problems in that area. That's fixable. Grading is not. Okay, enough about that. I'm getting off topic. Next question. This one is one that actually just went full on conspiracy theory, and I've heard this before. The longer your coins are at PCGS, the more likely you won't get the coin you submitted back if it was valuable. You would likely get a switched and new coin, would have the same marks on it, Only small details in mint strike would be distinguishable. Okay, I gotta stop changing shirts and shaving my head between scenes, right? Yeah, I'm editing, and I decided I wanted to change up how I approach this one a little bit, so I'm going to try and do this all in one take without having to do a lot of editing, again, because I'm ready to get this one done. I want to go through a few things that come to mind that just show how what I consider to be impossible this is to happen. First of all, PCGS, NGC, CAC, Annex and ICG, yes, even Annex and ICG are handling some extremely valuable coins. They're handling a lot of value. And their business model is built on collectors trusting them with their coins, not only to be graded well, not only to be not damaged, but also to be the real ones that they send in. If you look at like PCGS, NGC, and CAC, they're getting coins that their realistic market value is sometimes into the 7-figure range. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. They are dealing with coins on a regular basis that are worth substantial money. Substantial money. So, to sit there and think that whatever coin you sent them, no matter what it is, that it's worth their business. They're not only just the fact that they would lose all their reputation, nobody would trust them, it would collapse the coin market, it would lose everything they've built. They would risk litigation for fraud and legal troubles for doing that, as well as it's criminal. It's theft of property. Do you really think PCGS, NGC, CAC, Annex, or ICG is going to risk everything they've built so that they can swap out your coin? I can't think of a single coin today where it would be worth them risking everything they have, to give you a coin that looks very similar, but it's not exactly the same as the one that you have, just to swap it out. It doesn't exist. It wouldn't make sense. PCGS, NGC, and CAC are all registry set level companies. They have coins that are eligible for registry sets. Their coins sell strongly on the market because they're registry set eligible level coins. And those registry set level coins are being entrusted to PCGS, NGC, and CAC by registry set level collectors. We're talking about the big hitters in the hobby, the people who have a lot of money. And if you think they get those coins once and it's over, that's not true. They continue to see those coins because a lot of registry sets, especially copper, they require being reholdered so that the coins don't have anything in there where the environment could hurt the coin. Let's say you get some humidity trapped in that holder with copper. Not a good thing long term. So people with high-end registry sets quite often are resubmitting for reholdering of the coin. Not to change even the grade necessarily, just to get it reholdered, because they want to make sure their coin does not get damaged. So if you think that, let's say you have a coin that you even think is worth $50,000 or $100,000, it's still not worth PCGS, NGC, CAC doing that. And even with Annex and ICG, even though their coins don't go into registry sets, they have a profitable business model that is built upon trust. And if they were to break that trust even once like that, it would be over for them just the same. They don't do it. It doesn't make sense. Secondly, the person said it's almost identical. The markings are about the same. The coin is the same date. It looks about the same, but there are tiny little differences that you can see when you really look close. Well, I would argue that if the coin is the same date, same mint mark, same general condition range generally, same general marks on it because they said it's the same marks on the coin, then what's the difference in value and benefit that PCGS would swap it out for? Like, especially when you think about what they'd have to do to make it look like that. They would have to find a coin that's almost identical. Then they would have to put the marks on the coin, take the time to literally, like, counterfeit the marks of your coin onto another one to make it look the same, and then holder it and then send it to you. Why? Why? What would be the benefit of that? It doesn't make any sense. for them to do that. So I say all that, not to just bash on the person who commented, but because I do think it's pretty dangerous when people start spreading misinformation like that, because you might have somebody who really has a coin that's worth grading that would benefit from it, and then somebody else who really doesn't know what's going on at grading services. If you think that they're swapping out coins, you have no clue what's going on there. Somebody else thinks that. They tell them that idea. They're swapping out your coins, and then that person who really would benefit from it doesn't ever do it. And then they have a coin that when they try to sell it, they're not going to get what it probably deserves to sell for, because they didn't grade it, because they didn't trust the grading services. So that's how I see that. You can trust the grading services, PCGS, NGC, CAC, ICG, and Annex. You can trust those guys because their whole business model is trust. Trust that the grade is going to be proper for the coin. Trust that they are taking into account what collectors are looking for in particular grades. Trust that they're not going to have an issue with the holder, that they're actually taking their time with it and something's going to be right. Trust that the coin is going to be treated well while it's there. Trust that the coin that you send in is going to be sent back to you. There's a lot of trust involved with that. And those companies that I mentioned, the 5 I mentioned, in my opinion, are extremely trustworthy. And I send, for the shop and for my own coins, quite a bit of value off to those 5 grading services on a consistent basis without any worry in the world that it's going to come back to me, because I know it's going to come back to me. It's not an issue. I think what's going on is this person either had a coin come back from grading that they didn't like the grade of, and they thought, surely this can't be my coin that I got back because mine had to have been nicer than this. Or there is a factor where when you see a coin that you have in hand and you don't have a grade associated with it more objectively, and you see it, like, I don't know, this coin right here, I might look at this coin and say, wow, the proof fields look nice, it's really pretty, the lighting is just right, so it looks gorgeous. But then when it gets into a holder and it has a grade on it, then you have something, you're like, wow, that grade really doesn't reflect very well on the coin. Then you start looking at it and you're like, it doesn't look that great. Or have a bad memory of what it looked like beforehand, or just simply finally have a grade associated with it and recognize it's not as pretty as you thought. Because this coin, it is pretty in the right light, but it's not perfect, and it's not great. Honestly, it's not worth grading. So I don't know why this person feels that PCGS, NGC, CAC, or any of the grading services, they specifically mentioned PCGS, is swapping coins out, but rest assured, they're not doing that. Gosh, there's going to be a third video. Oh, so many questions, so many things to talk about. I've still got a couple more to cover that I think are pretty important to talk about. So I'm going to make a third one. Yeah, I know. It'll be coming out soon. I don't say any of this to, like, bash on anybody. I want to mention that as well. I'm not trying to bash on the people who've made the comments. I really appreciate them sharing their opinions so I can see things I can address and help ease people's concerns in some of those areas and point out genuine areas of concerns, like we talked about with some things that are some difficulties you need to watch out for. But I do want to help people to trust grading in some capacity. So I appreciate the comments genuinely, even the ones I disagree with or think are just kind of on the conspiracy side. I still do appreciate you commenting and hearing your opinions. So if this did help you out, please hit the like button so other people can find the video as well. Also, if you want more content like this, or you want to see that third video I have coming out, make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications buttons below so you'll be notified when I post that video as well. Thanks for watching the video, and good luck in hitting that top pop if you're shooting for